Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe, and today we are celebrating the second historic blockout on Bitcoin. What do you think, Iman?
Second one, huh? Who was number one, dude?
What's that? What was that thing called? Oh, Bitmap. That was number one.
That thing that we're allegedly trying to kill, right?
Right.
Just had to open with that just because.
Well, it's squashed, right? And like Bitmap's no longer relevant, right?
I don't think so, dude. Last I checked a couple of minutes ago, Bitmap's still alive and it's got like 400.
No, that's not true, dude. It's killed. We killed it.
It's killed. I guess that was our mission, right? Is to kill Bitmap all along, but didn't happen. Bitmap is still alive, but we did achieve a blockout, like you said, but way quicker than expected. So, yeah, I guess what are we doing here? We're just kind of trying to live in the moment and like understand what's happening, right?
Yeah. I mean, so it's I guess today's Tuesday. We had a Thanksgiving, and some of us got sick, and so
obviously Iman's not in studio.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I'm trying not to super spread over there.
Yeah,
keep you guys nice and healthy,
Right. So, and we didn't even get a chance to like really cover NAT all that much during this this minting period.
That's one of that's one of the more weird things about this. Like, it didn't feel like we even really got to experience like the lead up to this, right? It literally feels like it happened like overnight.
Yeah. I mean,
next to Bitmap, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think Bitmap was trying to get some traction, and then Vitoshi hit us up, and then we talked about it. And then after we talked about it, it minted out in 17 days. And and then this one, we released our video. I think we had a second video where we kind of like explained a few things that was causing some confusion, like the next day. And then that was pretty much it. And then we had recorded a podcast like way early in the week that had like only like 10-15% minted at that point, something like that. And
correct.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like Monday night, roughly exactly 7 days later, it completely minted out. And we had a Twitter space earlier with Ordinal's wallet, which was great. I mean, they asked a bunch of good questions. There's a bunch of community members asking good questions. So this was like really just too fast. It was too fast for us to really kind of break down what any of this stuff is. So, but I mean,
we got some requests from the community, I guess, during the Twitter space that we had yesterday of certain topics, I guess, that they want us to discuss. And I think, if this would have taken longer to mint out, we probably would have done that naturally. It's like, let's break down all the individual components to this ecosystem, right? Because we did that for Bitmap.
Yeah.
And we had a unique position. Like, we were one of the few, I think, voices within the community that could speak on these different individual components to the metaverse, because we have, many years of experience developing, for the Web3 metaverse, open metaverse. So we divulged all of that slowly, incrementally. It's like, this is how the metaverse is going to proliferate into phases. And I think people understood that, right? And so, we haven't been able to really do that yet for this whole new thing we call non-arbitrary tokens. So I think we're going to have to do that, dude. That's our new task over the next coming weeks, even though there's already a mint out. But there is still like a wait on the horizon, right? For the trade-a-thon, or what do you want to call it? Like
the transferring?
The transferring. There you go.
Yeah, for sure. So when we were on the Twitter space, there was someone on there asking for more details on how to create elements, like what they are, what's the use of them. And the other thing was talking more in depth on BMT, which is the Bitmap token on the DMT sort of framework. So all those will be discussed in like later videos. But for now, we're just going to talk about like, what this like blockout actually means, what we're really waiting for in terms of indexing, and what's going to happen after all this like is said and done. So main thing is just the indexing part. And so Benny from Track is going to cover all that. There's I guess an update that's going to happen to the Ord client, which is the 1.0 update, also known as Jubilee. And this is going to occur sometime in December. So this is like the last week of November. So it's like imminent, a couple of weeks at most. And so according to Benny, that this update changes a couple of things on like how indexing needs to get done. So, so we're waiting on that update, and which is good because what this will do is it'll allow you to mint your BMT tokens pretty much in a single shot, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be a good way to get these tokens out to Bitmap holders and start figuring out, what else can be done. And, in no way does BMT represent the Bitmap ecosystem, but it's just a token that represents the potential of what people can do when you leverage digital matter theory and you apply your own sort of like pattern recognition and allow people who own bitmaps to inscribe those patterns, right, as fungible or maybe non-fungible tokens, right? So it's totally up to you. So on the screen here, I wanted to show kind of what Ordinal's wallet did. So this is, I guess, part of like the confusion. And we talked to them on, was it just yesterday, just Monday, right before the blockout. And I asked them, I was like, hey, why did you guys call this a NAT map? And because it created a bunch of confusion. It was like, well, we were confused. And, the process to claiming these NATs was block ownership. So we just leveraged what we built in the past for Bitmap and just named it that. So it's part of like the consequence of being fast. Like Ordinal's wallet is probably like one or two fastest developers in like the Ordinal's ecosystem, right? And because they're so fast, they're gonna make these sorts of mistakes. And but it sort of played along like with the whole minting process, right? It's much easier to mint on Ordinal's wallet than anywhere else. So they helped.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I guess they claimed it was a mistake, but I think it was a little bit of like a I don't know, like a marketing genius tactic, maybe potentially on their end as well, because they are a marketplace platform, right? So they want the eyeballs, they want people to look at them to come and scribe on their platform. Right? So that was it, and it worked flawlessly. I don't know if they did it intentionally or not, but if it was intentional, it worked. It was a good social experiment, right? Let's call this. And we talked about it in the Twitter space. We did everything we could, like as the designers of these tokens, to not contend, I guess, with the Bitmap ecosystem in any way. Like that's what led us to. It factored into deciding which of the data parameters to point to with the NAT and the BMT token.
Right.
We try not to overlap too much with what existed with Vitoshi Blockimoto's bitmap theory, right, with the transaction counts and such. So, but despite all that, it didn't really. The contention still was there. But from Ordinal's wallet perspective, that was actually to our benefit, right? Like he created that drama in the market, and it got the public sphere talking about this, right? And in the very beginning stages of it, man, like we recorded that podcast where we were kind of like reflecting about how much hate we were receiving from the community that we feel we're largely responsible for, bringing together, at least from my point of view, right?
Yeah.
In that community in particular, like how quickly they just turned against us. But over the course of the week, now like the majority of them have kind of, tampered down.
Not only that, but they started minting their own DMT tokens.
Correct. Some of the loudest detractors or the biggest vectors of opposition to NATs and such in the first couple of days, they're now like the first ones minting out their own token supplies, which is kind of crazy to see. So like, from the beginning of this is like, man, if you're like what's the field of study? Like, is this like a sociology thing or psychology?
Sociology and psychology. Yeah, I don't know what is it about us humans that are so we can just contradict ourselves in the same sentence, and like and we sit and that contradiction comes out so confidently. Like I don't know what it is about how we're able to do that and like just continue on with your day without like actually reflecting on what exactly it is you're saying.
I think it's a lot of like what you said. This is just a byproduct of Twitter. Like, a lot of this we saw through that platform, right? And yeah, like, dude, Twitter is definitely it enables this type of, I guess, behavior, which,
Hmm.
in a much more like intimate setting, I think a lot of those behavioral outcomes wouldn't exist, right? It's I don't know, people feel much more bold
Yeah.
behind Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because we would get on these like Twitter Spaces, and like none of these contentiousness happens there, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But you know what? I think what you said was right. It's like, you know what Ordinal's wallet did with this NAT map thing, like that was like the shock marketing, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
shock marketing on Twitter is just to be, shocking, right? It's like calling
Mhm.
things, what they're not, and just getting everybody riled up just to get some interactions on your Twitter account. And that
Yeah.
that could be, the unintended consequence of what is Twitter, is that in order to get engagement, you need to be sort of divisive, and
Mm.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's how you get followers, and that's how you get people to interact with your stuff, and that's how the
Yeah.
Twitter algorithm pushes your tweets to other people. So it could be all
Yeah.
that. So, but nonetheless, like, it doesn't matter what anyone
Yeah.
says. This framework is out there. You cannot put this
Mhm.
back, this genie back in the bottle, right? People are going to use it. They're not going to use it. They're going to mint, shit tokens of all kinds. They're going to mint functional utility tokens. It's totally up to the community to decide. There's nothing anyone can do about it, no matter how hard you cry about it. So, like, it is what
Mm.
it is.
Mhm. Totally agree. Yeah, and around the halfway point, whenever they did make the correction, change it from NatMat back to NAT Mint,
Yeah, they
right?
did.
That was actually when we saw like the acceleration of minting occur. Like
That's true.
it was around day 4, day 5, where like we were seeing like 100,000, 200,000 mints coming in a day. It was
Yeah,
kind of
dude.
crazy.
I remember calling you on Saturday, and and you were probably busy or something, so you didn't answer. But I remember calling you, and I was thinking, it's like, damn, it's Saturday, and we're 35% done,
Yeah,
35%, and
yeah,
and then it's like another 35% came in on Sunday, and then the remaining came on Monday. It's like
yeah,
in 3 days, it really minted out, right? The majority of the volume was in the last 3 days.
yeah. So yeah, we're literally just now like getting our bearings straight because we haven't even really like reflected on how everything kind of like came to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's look at the numbers if we can. So there's over 10,000 holders, right?
Yeah, so I wouldn't pay attention to the floor price just because the details here is like it doesn't really make sense. But the supply 818,000 of these mints, and the owners 10,600. So I think this owner count is the biggest tap token right now, I believe.
Hmm.
I think Track, which is a BRC20, has like 2,500 holders, and then many other
Yeah,
tap tokens have like 2,000 and change, something like that.
yeah. So there's a lot of potential here. I mean, this isn't as big as like a holder count as Sats, right? But Sats had 6 months
Mm-hmm.
of
21
an
million mints, by the way.
yeah, 21 million mints. That's roughly what, like 25 times more, roughly.
And yeah, 21 million mints, 6 months, and there was like one other metric to it as well that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, yeah, 21 mints is a lot. That's over half of all ordinal inscriptions.
Yeah,
Just
it was crazy.
Yeah, just one BRC20 token. And
Yeah,
I, if you think about it, I can see why like Casey doesn't really like BRC20s, because just one token, just like is half of everything.
mm. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand how that would.
Yeah, why would you hate that? I don't know, but I can see
Oh,
that
yeah,
being something like to not like, I guess.
yeah. Depends on your perspective, but obviously, from our perspective, this is a good thing,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
This is an ecosystem expanding thing. So yeah, we're contributing to that end of the market for sure. I think at the end of the day, you're going to see NATs in this ecosystem contribute to things that he would like new models of art generation and such, and new ecosystem support for art communities of art collectors and such.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, all that's kind of like theoretical at this point. We need some deployers and some bit informatics
Mm-hmm.
tinkerers to figure out exactly how to enable all that. But that is kind of the point of setting like the initial framework.
Yeah, and so let's talk about like kind of the foundation of everything is we're waiting on the indexer to really come through here, which is Benny, and Benny will come through. He's currently working on it. But the reason why everything isn't like perfectly set up for something like this, we talked about in the Ordinal's wallet space, was that we needed to prove to Benny that something like this, like digital matter theory, had, you know, at least a degree of traction, right? We didn't think it would mint out in 7 days, but we needed to show like there was value here of some kind, right? And then so we just released just like a framework for this, and clearly, I guess people liked it, right? So it minted out in 7 days. So what this does is it sends a signal to projects like Ordinal's Wallet and Track and Genie Data. It's like, hey, this is something to pay attention to, right? This is something to support, because if you support this, you'll get traction on your own project, right? And so that's why you can quickly see why Ordinal's Wallet was quick to jump onto this, because, you know, there's minting fees at stake here, right? So now that, you know, the traction is there, right? Benny's going to come through with this indexing. Now you're going to be able to see the list of elements that have been officially discovered by the community. And so that's going to look like a list, right? A list of elements. And with that list, each element is going to have a count, right? So for example, DMT .11.element, which is the one that we discovered, it points to the bits field. And the bits field is a numerical number, right? It's numeric, and it has a count, right? If you multiply that count with all the 818,000 supply, you get a total sort of count for that supply token, right? The max supply, at least up to the block height. So so Benny is responsible to do that count for pretty much every single element that gets discovered. So you have a column of elements, a column of counts, a column of holders, a column of projects, and like this will be, you know, sort of like in a easy to understand sort of like interface. And then when you click on the element, then you'll see a list of projects that have pointed to that element, and then you're going to see market caps and holders and all that stuff. So so Benny has a lot of work to do, right? And each of these things are API calls that projects like Ordinal's Wallet, mScribe, you know, these different projects who want to support this development are going to implement on their website. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. So we're going to have to keep on top of, again, these incremental steps to, I guess, accomplishing what you're describing as like a vision of the overall ecosystem in the market around it, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be our task. So, you know, we've done that for Ordinals since NBRC20s, since basically the beginning. We've done that for Bitmap since literally the very beginning. So we're going to be doing that for the DMT ecosystem as well, because somebody has to, right? So it makes sense that, you know, the ones who kind of like put it out there are the ones keeping, you know, the community and the ecosystem well informed as far as like what are these very necessary infrastructure primitives that's going to enable, you know, actual developers and ecosystem designers to flourish, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's important to kind of like contextualize like what this means for everybody. So I think the best way to do that is through, you know, doing these videos. And speaking of contextualizing, there's this guy named Ethan who created this Genie Data like dashboard. And within that dashboard, it had like a chart of how quickly it was minted, and it doesn't show anymore. I'm not sure because it minted out, or maybe there's like a cost associated to keeping up with this data. I'm not sure, but it also has a list of like all the addresses holding the tokens. And if you look at the very first one, the first one has 17,000 mints, right? 17,000. And so this guy spent anywhere between $100K to like $130,000 for all this.
Yeah.
And if you do the math and you do like napkin math and like add all these up, that only represents roughly 2% of the token supply. And so this is kind of notable. This is a demonstration of what fair mints look like. Is like it's evenly distributed enough to where there's no one person that holds, you know, in this case more than 2%, right? So this is a big deal. Like if you were to create an ecosystem token for your own project, for Bitmaps, it's like you need this fair distribution method, right? Because otherwise there's going to be somebody who mints a token all into themselves and decides to do some sort of, arbitrary logic that that allows people to claim. Not everybody's going to claim it, and then there's always going to be a percentage left in that original wallet. So then that claim that the original wallet could have more than 2%, right? Could have 10%, 20%, and then that could really disrupt the whole ecosystem, right? If they try to dump all those tokens. So that's what's so valuable about these fair mint distributions, and what can be done when when you have like this method of broad distribution, right? Like claiming blocks, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think ultimately that's what we're trying to showcase with NAT in particular, right? Well, like biggest contention point was, why didn't you make this an exclusive claimable token to already existing block owners, right? Which are, as of pre DMT deployment, we're just Bitmap holders, right? Now we've kind of like systematized the ability for people to not necessarily claim ownership of blocks, but I guess claim, or I guess create like block referencing to the data within it, like specifically to the DMT protocol, right? Like it's just a chain of commands in order to achieve some sort of like valuable output.
Right.
And in this systematic approach, of course, like referencing the existence of blocks, and then also referencing like a specific data parameter within that block, like that is what ultimately results in that value output.
Yeah.
And it's not arbitrary. So like that's the that I think is like the most like non-sugar coated way to define what it is we've actually put out there.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of like, we're not trying to like smush everyone's dreams, right? And like all the hopium out there of the beauty behind what, I guess, like what Bitmap first put out as like being a pioneer to like, even giving us the idea to do this, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge to kind of like explain this in a way where, where people understand that this is more of a value add than like a value detractor, right? So that's the challenge. And then on top of that, like Ordinal's, like we talked about earlier, Ordinal's client update 1.0, we've been in beta this whole year, and now like a full deployment of Ordinals is going to happen in a few weeks. And so because of that change, like you can't do a lot of stuff. Like, for example, parent-child inscriptions, where in one transaction you create multiple children. That's a cursed inscription. And I think even though that's cursed, I think the 1.0 update will make cursed not cursed. But I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what Benny said. But nonetheless, things are not fully supported, to really make a lot of the stuff make sense, like BMT, for example. So so once that update happens, then it's going to make sense. And right now, because we're before that update, it's not easy for people to understand that a lot of the functionality isn't there, but it's going to be there soon, right? So it's always a challenge explaining this stuff to everybody.
Yep, that's what we're here for, dude. We're the explainers, right? So we got a lot of explaining to do, dude.
Yeah.
What's that from? There's a TV show. You got some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. And I think that guy was drunk or something.
I don't know, dude. That's not Family Matters, is it?
No,
that's Team
so.
Off the top of my head, I think that's I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Lucy, you got some explaining to do. I think that's what it is, dude.
Yeah.
TJ with trivia, dude. Very nice. Very clutch, TJ.
How do you do that, TJ?
Watched a lot of late night Nickelodeon.
Yeah, you had to, dude, to like pull that out of the bucket so quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's us, dude. We got a lot of explaining to do still, right? And because ultimately, we know there's going to be like a big impact to DMT, but I don't think we've identified all the potential vectors yet
No, definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah,
this what we release like for the first token is in no way
Yeah.
representative of what's possible. Like,
yeah,
people are
a lot
going
of
to
people are going to be unimpressed by this token that we put out, right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even us, like,
Yeah, the community is going to do a way better job than we did, and coming up with like a better tokenomics utility and like
Yeah.
functionality and like crazy DeFi capabilities with like this non-arbitrary inflation rate. Like, they're going to come up with all this cool stuff, and that's the point of this point of the framework, is that we believe the community will do a better job executing on the tokens than we have. But we needed a token to demonstrate what is possible, at least in one way, right? And so that's
Correct.
what this is, and I guess the market agrees, right? As far as we can tell.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure as far as like what the future holds for us, as far as like how much more like bit informatics tinkering we're going to do ourselves, possibly like in the exploration of metaverse commodities, right?
Yeah.
More than likely there's going to be some sort of like introduction of something new, like you're saying, some new utility,
Yeah.
because that is ultimately what inspired DMT to come to fruition. It's like, how do we unlock like an actual digital substance layer within the metaverse, right? Like that is closely parallel to like what it is that enabled our like resource commodities markets to emerge in this physical reality, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like, there's innate substances within our universe that we've identified serious value in extracting and utilizing for industry, right? And that is kind of like what kickstarted all of our economics over the last couple hundred years, right? So
yeah, the Industrial Revolution is largely responsible for everything that we have.
Right. So we put out the thesis or the assumption that something along that same like parallel pathway will have to occur in the virtual universe, right? So in order to do that, you need like an actual non-arbitrary like substance layer again extract and identify value from. So that is literally why we started this, and that's going to be probably the field of tinkering that we're going to explore down the line. Right?
Yeah, so if this is the first time you hear about NATs or DMT, we have a video not too long ago where we talk about all this stuff in detail. And if you want the history of digital matter theory, we've been talking about this for months. And
we sure have.
Yeah, and like we said, it's like, it doesn't matter how often you talk about something. Nobody really cares until there's a token, right, on the line, right? And so that's when people pay attention. And so we've seen that, we've proven that. So if you want to learn more about it, definitely check out our older videos. But that's it for us. We're going to be back with more follow-ups on talking about elements, BMT, and like
going to be back to Ordinal takeover and Bitmap takeover. There's still tons of stuff happening out there, and we're going to keep our eyes on everything. It's not just our stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, all the links will be in the description. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section below. Follow us on all our Twitter accounts. I appreciate you guys, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.